Morning. My name's Marcus Coleman. I'm the CEO of Seafish. Really happy to be welcoming you to the first UK Seafood Summit. It's fantastic that you've turned out en masse to support it. I couldn't believe yesterday we had, I think it was something like 170 registrations for that exporters workshop. Last night we had around 200 or so for the seafood fair. And today I think we've got 250 odd, you're not odd, 250 for this conference day today. So thank you very much indeed for giving up your time to come and hear what's being said and to give your views as well, those of you who are on the platform. We've got all elements of the supply chain represented today. We've got the catching sector in the room. We've got processors, large and small. We've got exporters. We've got importers. We've got food service. We've got some fish and chips. Where are you fish and chips, guys? Still in bed, typical. There they are. There they are. We've got the support services around us. So we've got some legal firms, solicitors, export advisors. We've got pretty much everybody. We've got some NGOs. We've got some government representatives. We've got some retailers in the room. Really diverse group here today. And I think that's really helpful for us to learn from each other and how we're going forward. We've also attracted some international guests, so good morning. Welcome to our colleagues from the United States, from Canada, from Norway, from Spain, Faroes, and Ireland. Now, we're not going to leave you behind, Ireland. Honest, we're certainly not. Forgive me if there's any nation I've missed out there. Give us a shout if I've not called you out. Really looking forward to the day ahead. It's my job just to introduce the day to start with and get us going. I'm going to introduce our keynote speaker in a moment. But first, I just want to make an important announcement. We have a vision, clearly, of a thriving seafood industry, but without the future talent coming through, that will grind to a halt in a few years' time. And so Seafish, very much encouraged by our processor and importers panel, are today launching the concept of a Young Leaders Programme for the seafood industry in the UK. So we're looking particularly for people between the age of around about 25 and 40. Sorry, those of us who are outside that boundary. But those young leaders, so perhaps you are one of those young leaders. You're up and coming in your organisation. You want to move forward. You want to meet some like-minded people. You want to network with like-minded people. You want to explore what the industry has to offer. Well, we want to create a network where you guys can come together. Seafish can help support and underpin that, facilitate sessions. Perhaps there are visits to different parts of the supply chain. Perhaps there are tie-ups to make with, for example, there's a Young Leaders Programme in Norway. So in the Bergen Seafood Show in March, maybe a few of us go and meet some of our counterparts in Norway. There's a programme in the United States for young leaders. Maybe there's some learnings that we can take from that. So in particular, there's going to be an email address I'm going to pop up in a second, because I have to do everything around here. Here we go. This young seafood leaders at seafish.co.uk. If you've got somebody in your company, if you're an MD, CEO sitting here now, thinking, I've got people I want to put forward for that network, pop a note into my box here, and we'll pick those up and come back to you in a few weeks' time. We've got a vision of this being very much self-directed, so that the group of people coming together, creating a steering group, and taking the work forward. Now, in clicking through those slides, I've just remembered I forgot to thank our sponsors. So thank you, sponsors. The Seafood Fair last night would not happen without your input, and this event in general would not happen. So we've had a number of food sponsors who you know and love. We've also got some of our non-food sponsors through the middle here, and our media partners as well. So thank you, everybody, for supporting the event. It's very much appreciated. Now, talking of young people brings me neatly to our keynote speaker. And the reason is our keynote speaker is Ursula Lidbetter. She's just down here at the front. I'm going to bring her up in a second. But Ursula is someone that I've known for sort of somewhere between, we're not quite sure, are we, 10 to 15 years or so. And Ursula is somebody who has a vision. She has many visions. And I've had the privilege of knowing Ursula long enough to see some of her visions come to fruition, which isn't always the case, is it? We all have bright ideas, but do they ever go anywhere? And I was meeting with Ursula a few weeks ago, and she was on her way to a graduation ceremony, weren't you? But it wasn't any graduation ceremony. This was the first graduation ceremony of the cohort of pharmacists that had gone through a degree course at Lincoln University. And the reason this is significant is because Ursula and her team identified at Lincolnshire Cooperative have a group of pharmacists. They didn't have that young talent coming through. They didn't have enough qualified pharmacists. And so Ursula had the vision with other partners to create a course on the doorstep. And so it came to pass. And here we are, a long time later, but 3 years later from the start of the course, that first crop of pharmacists coming through and going into the workplaces, no doubt, across Ursula's network in Lincolnshire and beyond. So it's great to see that kind of vision. And I know you've been involved in many other pieces of development in the Lincolnshire area in particular. But more recently, you've spread your wings, so to speak, and not only is Ursula chairman of the Greater Lincolnshire Economic Partnership, but she's also on the Food and Drink Sector Board representing those LEPs for us. And so Ursula's got a very much broader vision and broader exposure, I think, to the food and drink supply chain generally, and she's very much plugged into what is happening in a strategic way, being driven by DEFRA and other agencies. So it seemed an excellent way to start the conference today, to hear from Ursula about some of that work, some of that bigger picture work, that perhaps the rest of the day we can build down back into the seafood industry. But to start us up and to open our eyes a little bit to the rest of the world, the rest of the food and drink world, I'm going to invite Ursula to come up and give us her keynote presentation. So a warm welcome for Ursula, please.